earlier. It was a few years ago. Keely was quite young, and it was late spring. It was a Wednesday night. Tara was working, and Keely came to me as it was time for bed, and she said, "Daddy, my eye hurts." And, you know, I'm not a doctor. I looked at her and I said, "You're going to be fine in the morning, don't worry." And a few hours later, she woke us up crying. And Tara got up with her, as she did with all of our children. And this time was a little different. This time she came in and said, "You need to get up." And I remember sitting on the corner of Keely's bed. And she said, "Daddy, I see two of you." And I said, "Give me a high five." And she totally missed my hand. And we spent the next 2 hours in an emergency room in Voorhees, where Keely was checked head to toe. And in that time, her vision got worse, pain in her head got worse, her breathing got labored, and she had trouble standing. The doctor took us aside and said, "I don't want you to cry in front of her, but all signs are leading towards a tumor. We're going to take a CAT scan, and in an hour, we'll know." That was the longest hour of my life. Tara was a rock, and I was not. At the end of the hour, the doctor came to us and said, "I've got some good news and I've got some bad news." Good news is we cannot find a tumor. The bad news is her body is shutting down. We don't know what's wrong. And we recommend that she be brought to Children's Hospital, Philadelphia. It took a couple of hours to get her transferred by ambulance. Tara drove along in the ambulance. I followed by, close by. And when we got to Children's Hospital, we were greeted by a team of 10 doctors. Children's Hospital is a teaching hospital, and they often have extra doctors on hand who are learning. Those 10 doctors worked on Keely for an hour. And when they were done, 10 more doctors came in. And they worked on her for an hour, doing all kinds of tests. When they were done, Keely said she needed to use the bathroom, but she could no longer stand. I carried her to the bathroom. On return, the head doctor took us aside and said, "We believe Keely has Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a neurological blood disease." And he said, "With an immediate transfusion and months of painful rehabilitation, we believe we can get Keely back to close to where she was, but she will never ever be the same again." Well, I couldn't accept that, and I wouldn't accept it. Tara went in the room with Keely as they did a spinal tap, large needle into her spine. And I heard her screaming from the room. I found this spot in the hallway, crowded hallway, and I just sat and I said a prayer. I didn't just pray for Keely to be okay. I prayed for everything to go back to the way it was. I prayed for her to have a chance to grow up and do all the things that we thought she could do. I prayed for her to do so much. And in return, I promised a lot. I promised years off my life. I promised to be a better dad. Anything I can think of. When I finished my prayer, I went inside. Tara was trying to calm Keely. And almost immediately when I walked in the room, she said, "I feel something. Can you see what it is?" And I went around to the other side of Keely, and I looked to where Tara was pointing. And just above her left ear, embedded in her hairline, was this engorged tick. And I yelled, "It's a tick, it's a tick." And within 15 seconds, the room was flooded with doctors and nurses. I mean, it was shoulder to shoulder. And the head doctor, the Guillain-Barré guy, said, "Have the veterinarian remove it. She's got more experience than any of us." And with that, they gave Tara tweezers and a test tube. And she came around to my side, and she dug it out, and she put it in the test tube, and she handed it to me. And I took that thing and I shook it up. I wanted to punish it or kill it. And the doctor said, whoa, what are you doing? We need to test that thing. See, I thought the damage was done. I thought that this little parasite had already ruined her life. And I felt that way for the next 5 minutes, until this nurse came in with this stack of printouts, all these stories of these little girls, all around Keely's height and weight, all with long hair, all with something called tick paralysis. And that's when a female pregnant tick attaches itself to someone who's 50 pounds or less. It releases toxins into the blood, and it shuts down the organs. In Keely's case, it was her vision, and it was her breathing, and then her limbs. The thing is, in all of these cases, if the tick is not found, the victim dies within 72 hours. There was not a case like this in Philadelphia in over 100 years. None of the doctors had seen it. They decided to keep Keely for observation overnight. Tara asked if I could go home and bring them back clothes in the morning. And when I got back in the morning, at 6 a.m., I found Keely standing on her bed. And when she saw me, she gave me the biggest smile. And she started jumping on the bed saying, "Look at me, Daddy, look at me." And when she asked me to be her softball coach, she didn't have to ask twice. Keely was the sickest little girl in Children's Hospital the night before. That morning, she was the healthiest. Everything that she had lost came back hour by hour. It was as if nothing could ever happen. And that's what started us on our path to softball. So, Keely has thanked me many times over the years for being her coach. But I'm really the one who needs to thank her, because it introduced me to all of you. It introduced me to these wonderfully talented players, to these volunteers who give unconditionally, to these parents who love their daughters so much. And this has been such a ride. It's been incredible. So, tomorrow is the last day for 6 of our seniors. Plus, we already have 2 college players who age out, so we lose potentially 8 players, at least 8 players. And that's a difficult thing. Though I'm thrilled for them, because they're all going off to school, they're all going to do great things. I have loved every minute of being your coach. I think you know that. So Keely has thanked me for being her coach, and I'm going to keep trying to pay that back. In next month, she's going to go off to college. I'm going to continue to coach, because I'm not done yet giving back. I think I can help some more players, and I want to be there for them. So anyway, tomorrow, 6 of you are going to wear the Thunder uniform for the last time. And I know that you're going to play with a heavy heart. I know that you're going to run on that field. You're going to leave it all on the field, just as you always have. And when the game is over, there's going to be hugs and there's going to be tears. There's not going to be a speech, I promise you, because I'm probably not going to be able to talk. So this is it. But I do have a favor to ask of our seniors, especially those of you who may not be playing again. Maybe this is your last competition. I want you to remember how good you are right now. I want you to remember how hard you worked to get to this point. I want you to remember that there were people along the way who told you you were not good enough, that you couldn't do it, that you didn't belong. And it's important that you remember that, because there are going to be people your entire life, for whatever reason, tell you that you're not good enough, that you can't do it. And you need to remember this time. Tomorrow will be tough. There was something else I wanted to say there. It'll come. The thing that I'm going to miss the most, I know what I was going to say. So I am going to continue coaching, but honestly, it's going to be different. It's going to be a different experience. It's not going to be the same for me personally. And it can't be, because of the people involved here. It's not going to be the same when I look over to first and I don't see Megan Ennis. And I look to short and I don't see Dom Waters. And I look to right and I don't see Alana. And I look to center and I don't see Kirsten Myers. And I look to home plate and I don't see Brooke or Courtney. Or the pitcher's mound and I don't see Danny. But when I look to left field and I don't see Keely, it won't be the same for me. But I'm going to try to make it the best experience I can for those new players. The thing that I'm going to miss the most, and I'll end it here, isn't going to be the competition, the teams we played. It's not going to be the medals or the trophies. It's not even going to be the exciting venues we went to. And over the years, we've been to Florida, Virginia Beach, Maryland, Delaware, all over Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and now Massachusetts. The thing that I'm going to miss the most is simply the rides to and from our practices and games, and sharing a laugh with the person who inspired me most. Thank you, Keely. Thank you, everybody.
Good job. Excellent. Thank you.
I think I'm going to have a beverage.
Fireball time. Here we go.
Yeah.